her rib cage down to her pelvis, okay? She's squeezing the rib cage down to the pelvis and bracing her stomach outwards. She's expanding through the midsection into the belt to create that rigid block. I think that you could really be the Robin to my Batman and the mountains to my broke back, because I am hell for those boobies. Everything here is tight, everything is locked in. As she descends, she's gonna maintain that outward tension from the ground. Her knees are driving out. Not a good shoe to do any leg work in, so wear them to the gym, but make sure you take some other shoes as well. Moving on next. Are you struggling to hit a new squat PR? Don't worry, baby, I got you covered.
Party on, Wayne! Party on, Garth.
For those of you who don't know, my best squat in competition is 415 kilograms, 915 pounds, and I've squatted over 400 kilograms a handful of times. This is my first ever 400 kilogram squat. And I've coached many lifters to some insane squat numbers. So today I'm going to share with you my 5 tips for a bigger squat. And if you're not doing even one of these things, you could seriously be selling yourself short of more plates on the bar. I hope you enjoy this. Let's go. All right, baby. Number 1, upper back tightness. Now, the upper back, that shelf we create to stack a heavy barbell on, right? It would make sense that having a strong and rigid upper back would potentially allow us to stack more plates on the bar, right? Of course. Now, how can we create this tightness in our upper back? I'm going to show you. Now, I love the analogy of what's the point of having a big, powerful engine in a car if there's no traction on the tires? You're not going to go anywhere. And the same applies here. Now, for the demonstrations today, I'm going to have my beautiful assistant showing us how it's done. Now, we will not be squatting heavy weights unless we can get that barbell to sit still in our back so we can effectively exert force into it, right? Imagine it's rolling around everywhere while you're trying to squat a PR. Absolutely no fun. All right, now set up for me. So what I want you to do, hands a bit wider for me. Now, the goal here is to bring your hands as close as mobility will allow. Now, for someone smaller like this lady, she's gonna bring them in quite close. Now, for someone like me, my hands would be wider. That's what my mobility will allow, but it's as close as I can get. Now, the reason that we want to bring our hands as close as we can is because when we squeeze our hands in, we're able to squeeze our elbows in and our shoulder blades in, right? We retract and squeeze as hard as we possibly can. Now, when we squeeze everything in, what we're doing is we're creating a shelf here for the barbell to sit on, a rigid platform, so that when you squat, you can exert maximum force into the barbell and that bar isn't gonna go anywhere. So the next time you squat, try bringing your hands in slightly closer. It's gonna feel good, it's gonna feel strong. Let's go. All right, baby. Now, before we do number 2, do me a massive favor. Please like this video. Make sure you drop a comment. Let me know what you learned today. And of course, subscribe to your mum's favorite channel on YouTube, Cult Strength. Number 2, knees out. Now, this is probably an extremely overused cue, but that would be due to the fact that a lot of people don't really understand what it means. So I'm going to explain. Now, to maximize our squat, we need to learn to use our hips and our glutes effectively, something that many people struggle with. Now, by driving our knees out, what we're trying to achieve here is external rotation from the hip. So we're not actually just driving our knees out aimlessly, we're actually externally rotating from the hip, therefore the knees will also drive out. Now, what's really important here is that we keep ourselves anchored to the floor with our feet to maintain as much tension as possible. Tension is everything here. Confused?
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?
I don't blame you. Let me give you a demonstration. All right, my beautiful assistant's gonna give me another demonstration. Now, unrack the barbell for me with a tight upper back, of course. Now, from this position here, when we are standing with a barbell on our back, what we're trying to do to achieve that knees out position is we're gonna start from the ground. Imagine your big toe and your pinky toe are digging into the ground, your heel's anchored in, and you're externally rotating the floor outwards. So she's trying to spread the floor apart, right? Now, while she's doing that, it's gonna switch on her quadriceps a little bit, and she's gonna squeeze her glutes, okay? So everything here is tight, everything is locked in. As she descends, she's gonna maintain that outward tension from the ground, her knees are driving out, and as she stands up, exactly the same thing. 2 more reps, spreading the floor apart, knees out, strong hips, feeling it in the glutes, spreading the floor, knees out, lovely. Back on the rack. Now, I also would never recommend you walk out a squat this way. It's just for the demonstration, hey love. So the next time you squat, make sure you give that one a try too. It's gonna feel great. Now, a quick question for all of you. Do you wanna see more of this hot goth mummy on Cult Strength? We've been thinking about ways to get you more involved on the channel, presenting more videos, more information, and perhaps some videos targeting women's health and fitness and strength and things like that, right? I think that you could really be the Robin to my Batman and the mountains to my broke back, because I am gay as hell for those boobies, if you know what I mean. But let me know in the comments if you want to see more of this. I certainly do. Let's go. All right, baby, this is a big one. Number 3, locking down the brace. Now, there's no point having a strong, rigid upper back if we can't connect that with the rest of our body, right? So once we have the bar on our back and everything is tight, we have to take a big breath in before we descend into the squat and make sure we lock it all in. How do you do that? Let me show you. Now, from this position here, what we want to do, now that everything's nice and tight in our upper back, our feet are set, we're getting ready to descend into the squat. We need to take our breath and we need to brace. Now, the breath that we take, we want to get it into our belly, right? So that we can create tension into our belt. We don't want to breathe into our chest or our collarbone. So take a big breath into your belly. As she does that, she's then going to lock everything down by squeezing the barbell down on her back, but also she's going to be drawing her rib cage down to her pelvis, okay? She's squeezing the rib cage down to the pelvis and bracing her stomach outwards. She's expanding through the midsection into the belt to create that rigid block. She's doing that as hard as she can. Take a big breath, brace, lock it in, give me 1 squat. Lovely. Don't even think it was on camera, but that brace looks solid. Back in the rack for me. So the next time you squat, make sure you lock that brace in, make sure everything's nice and tight before you descend. Don't go down into the squat if you haven't taken that big breath. Make sure it's locked in. Let's go, baby. Now, number 4. It may seem pretty self-explanatory, but I see a lot of people struggling with this, and that is to keep your head still. Now, the way I see this, the way I see lifting, whether it's a squat, a bench, or a deadlift, it's a game of inches, right? It's kind of like football. Every little bit counts.
That's what she said.
And if we can maximize something, then we better fucking do that, because the stronger you get, the harder it is to get stronger. Now, as you've probably learned, that when you're trying to squat heavy with a barbell on your back, stability is extremely important. So when you're trying to squat a PR and you're adjusting your head on the fly, you're probably not doing yourself any real favors, are you? Now, what you want to do when you squat, what I like to do, is I pick a spot on the floor roughly 3 or 4 meters away and I stare at it. I don't move my head. Now, I keep my head slightly back and my chin tucked, making sure that everything is really locked in. But it's really important to find that spot to stare at and don't take your eyes off it. Going back to bracing, think of your body as a chain. One weak link will compromise the entire chain, and your head is a link in that chain. So keep it still. All right, baby. Now, finally, number 5, footwear. What you wear on or don't wear on your feet when you squat is extremely important. Now, we have a few different examples of footwear you may find someone or yourself wearing in the gym. But we have to think about this, right? When we're squatting, especially squatting heavy, our base, what's connected to the floor, is really important. Now, we're going to start with something like a jogger, or a jogger, I believe it's called, right? When you go running or something like that. Anyway, this is a gym shoe, right? You would say it's a gym shoe, but this is a gym shoe that is not designed to do leg day in, let's say, for example, okay? Because if you see through the bottom of the shoe, through the sole, it's very spongy and very twisty and very soft, right? So imagine you got a heavy weight on your back, it's compressing down through the foam, it's not gonna feel very stable at all, right? It's gonna feel really shitty. Not a good shoe to do any leg work in, so wear them to the gym, but make sure you take some other shoes as well. Moving on next. Now we'll go Vans or Converse. Now these are my average or standard gym shoe of choice, right? For most people, these are going to be your go-to. They're easily accessible and they're okay for what you need to do. Now, I don't think they're the best shoe for squatting or deadlifting. You typically won't see me wearing any shoes for squats or deadlifts, but if you're in a gym where you have to wear shoes, a good bet is going to be just a basic Converse or a basic pair of Vans. They're relatively thin. They're still a little bit thick, but they're a little more solid than your, let's say, running shoes or your joggers. So these aren't too bad.
You probably want the ankle.
Yeah, and the ankle support, it's kind of one of those things, right? It's more if you like to have that feeling of security around your ankle, that can help, but I don't actually think it's going to help you. But the flat sole is definitely what you're after. That's a better choice than a jogger. Moving on. A lifting shoe. Now, this is a specific type of shoe that may be suited for some people. Now, I would say if you're looking at a big squat and you're quadricep dominant, you may want to use a raised heel shoe. The raised heel will allow you to use your quadriceps more. So if you've got stronger quads and a posterior chain, then maybe this is the option for you. Now, also, if you lack ankle mobility and you struggle to get depth, maybe your heels feel like they come off the floor a little bit as you go into a squat, this could also help. So if you lack mobility in the ankles, try one of these. Or if you have massive, strong quads and you want to really maximize that, a lifting shoe? Yes, ma'am. Next. This is a deadlift slipper, probably one of the ugliest shoes you could buy, but this would be my choice of gym shoe if I had to wear shoes all the time in the gym. Now, luckily, we have our own gym here, right? So we can kind of wear nothing if we want. Absolutely. Nothing at all. Absolutely.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
So I like to train barefoot. Now, this is a barefoot shoe, so it is an absolute minimalist shoe. There is absolutely hardly anything in the sole. It's just one thin strip of rubber. There is no support and nothing at all in this shoe, right? But that's kind of what you want. It mimics a bare foot. So I can really feel the ground with this shoe, which is important when you squat. As I was saying before, right, as we're getting a demonstration of that external rotation into the floor and anchoring the toes and the feet in, it's really easy to do that when you can feel the floor. If you're wearing something really thick and really spongy, you don't get that contact and you don't get that stability that you're looking for when you're trying to squat big weights. So, something to consider the next time you go shopping or the next time you go to the gym, make sure you wear the appropriate footwear. Let's go?
Let's go.
So there are my 5 pro tips for a bigger squat. Make sure the next time you go into the gym, you give it a try. And remember, if you're looking for a great squat program, head to cultstrength.square.site. I have you covered. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you drop a comment. I truly appreciate the engagement. Your support helps me grow this channel, and that's what we're trying to do. And of course, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button if you want to see more of my shit, because I post all the time, and I'm a pretty fun guy. Wouldn't you say? Go to the fucking gym, baby. Let's go.